A torii is a traditional Japanese gate most commonly found at the entrance of or within a Shinto shrine, where it symbolically marks the transition from the profane to the sacred. The presence of a torii at the entrance is usually the simplest way to identify Shinto shrines, and a small torii icon represents them on Japanese road maps. They are, however, a common sight at Japanese Buddhist temples too, where they stand at the entrance of the temple's own shrine, called chinjusha, and are usually very small. The first appearance in Japan can be reliably pinpointed to at least the mid-Heian period because they are mentioned in a text written in 922. The oldest existing stone torii was built in the 12th century and belongs to a Hoshiman shrine in Yamagata Prefecture. The oldest wooden torii is a Ryobu torii at Kubo Hoshiman shrine in Yamanashi Prefecture, built in 1535. Torii were traditionally made from wood or stone, but today they can be also made of reinforced concrete, copper, stainless steel or other materials. They are usually either unpainted or painted vermilion with a black upper lintel. Inari shrines typically have many torii because those who have been successful in business often donate in gratitude a torii to Inari, kami of fertility and industry. Fushimi Inari Taisha in Kyoto has thousands of such torii, each bearing the donor's name. The Japanese torii is derived from the Indian Tarana, which also inspired the Chinese peifang, meaning and uses of torii. The function of a torii is to mark the entrance to a sacred space. For this reason, the road leading to a Shinto shrine is almost always straddled by one or more torii, which are therefore the easiest way to distinguish a shrine from a Buddhist temple. If the sando passes under multiple torii, the outer of them is called ichi no torii. The following ones, closer to the shrine, are usually called, in order, ni no torii and san no torii. Other torii can be found farther into the shrine to represent increasing levels of holiness as one nears the inner sanctuary core of the shrine. Also, because of the strong relationship between Shinto shrines and the Japanese imperial family, a torii stands also in front of the tombs of each emperor. Whether torii existed in Japan before Buddhism or, to the contrary, arrived with it is, however, an open question. In the past, torii must have been used also at the entrance of Buddhist temples. Even today, as prominent a temple as Osaka's Shiten-oji, founded in 593 by Shotoku Taishi and the oldest state-built Buddhist temple in the country, has a torii straddling one of its entrances. Many Buddhist temples include one or more Shinto shrines dedicated to the tutelary kami, and in that case a torii marks the shrine's entrance. Benzetin is a syncretic goddess derived from the Indian divinity Sarasvati, which unites elements of both Shinto and Buddhism. For this reason, halls dedicated to her can be found at both temples and shrines, and in either case in front of the hall stands a torii. The goddess herself is sometimes portrayed with a torii on her head. Finally, until the Meiji period, torii were routinely adorned with plaques carrying Buddhist sutras. The association between Japanese Buddhism and the torii is therefore old and profound. Yamabushi, Japanese mountain ascetic hermits with a long tradition as mighty warriors endowed with supernatural powers, sometimes used as the symbol of torii. The torii is also sometimes used as a symbol of Japan in non-religious contexts. For example, it is the symbol of the Marine Corps Security Force Regiment and the 187th Infantry Regiment, 101st Airborne Division, and of other U.S. forces in Japan. Origins. The origins of the torii are unknown, and there are several different theories on the subject, none of which has gained gained universal acceptance, because the use of symbolic gates is widespread in Asia. Such structures can be found, for example, in India, China, Thailand, Korea, and within the Koberis and Shompan villages. Historians believe they may be an imported tradition. They may, for example, have originated in India from the Torana gates in the monastery of Sanchi in central India. According to this theory, the Torana was adopted by Shingon Buddhism founder Kukai, who used it to demarcate the sacred space used for the Homa ceremony. The hypothesis arose in the 19th and 20th centuries due to similarities in structure and name between the two gates. Linguistic and historical objections have now emerged, but no conclusion has yet been reached. In Bangkok, Thailand, a Brahmin structure called Sao Ching-cha strongly resembles a Torii. Functionally, however, it is very different as it is used as a swing. During ceremonies, Brahmins swing, trying to grab a bag of coins placed on one of the pillars. Other theories claim Torii may be related to the Pelu of China. These structures, however, can assume a great variety of forms, only some of which actually somewhat resemble a Torii. The same goes for Korea's Hongsulmun. Unlike its Chinese counterpart, the Hongsulmun does not vary greatly in design and is always painted red, with arrow sticks located on the top of the structure. Various tentative etymologies of the word Torii exist. According to one of them, the name derives from the term Toriyayu. Another hypothesis takes the name literally. The gate would originally have been some kind of bird perch. This is based on the religious use of bird perches in Asia, such as the Korean sotte, which are poles with one or more wooden birds resting on the top, commonly found in groups at the entrance of villages together with totem poles called jangsung. They are talismans which ward off evil spirits and bring the villagers good luck. Bird perches, similar in form and function to the sotte, exist also in other shamanistic cultures in China, Mongolia and Siberia, although they do not look like Torii and serve a different function. These bird perches show how birds in several Asian cultures are believed to have magic or spiritual properties, and may therefore help explain the enigmatic literal meaning of the Torii's name. Poles believed to have supported wooden bird figures very similar to the sotte have been found together with wooden birds, and are believed by some historians to have somehow evolved into today's Torii. Intriguingly, in both Korea and Japan, single poles represent deities and Hashira is the counter for kami. In Japan, birds have also long had a connection with the dead. This may mean it was born in connection with some prehistorical funerary rite. Ancient Japanese texts like the Kojiki and the Nihon Shoki, for example, mention how Yamato Takeru after his death became a white bird and in that form chose a place for his own burial. For this reason, his mausoleum was then called Shiratori Misasagi. Many later texts also show some relationship between dead souls and white birds, a link common also in other cultures, shamanic like the Japanese. Bird motifs from the Yayoi and Kofun periods associating birds with the dead have also been found in several archaeological sites. This relationship between birds and death would also explain why, in spite of the name, no visible trace of birds remains in today's Torii. Birds were symbols of death, which in Shinto brings defilement. Finally, the possibility that Torii are of Japanese invention cannot be discounted. The first Torii could have evolved already with the present function through the following sequence of events. 4 posts were placed at the corners of a sacred area and connected with a rope, thus dividing sacred and mundane. 2 taller posts were then placed at the center of the most auspicious direction to let the priest in. A rope was tied from one post to the other to mark the border between the outside and the inside, the sacred and the mundane. This hypothetical stage corresponds to a type of torii in actual use, the so-called Torii, an example of which can be seen in front of the Miller Shrines hidden in Kyoto. The rope was replaced by a lintel. Because the gate was structurally weak, it was reinforced with a tie beam, and what is today called Shinmei Torii for Tabashira Torii was born. This theory, however, does nothing to explain how the gates got the name. The Shinmei Torii, whose structure agrees with the historian's reconstruction, consists of just 4 unbarked and unpainted logs, 2 vertical pillars topped by a horizontal lintel, and kept together by a tie beam. The pillars may have a slight inward inclination called uchiko-robi or jusko-robi. Its parts are always straight. Torii parts and ornamentations. Torii may be unpainted or painted vermilion and black. The color black is limited to the kasagi and the nemaki. Very rarely torii can be found also in other colors. Kamakura's Kamakura-gu, for example, has a white and red one. The kasagi may be reinforced underneath by a second horizontal lintel called shimaki or shimagi. Kasagi and a shimaki may have an upward curve called sorimashi. The nuki is often held in place by wedges. The kusabi in many cases are purely ornamental. At the center of the nuki there may be a supporting strut called gakuzuka, sometimes covered by a tablet carrying the name of the shrine. The pillars often rest on a white stone ring called kamabara or daishi. The stone is sometimes replaced by a decorative black sleeve called nemaki. At the top of the pillars there may be a decorative ring called danwa. The gate has a purely symbolic function and therefore there usually are no doors or board fences, but exceptions exist, as for example in the case of a Miller Shrine's triple-arched torii. Styles. Structurally, the simplest is the Shim Torii, Turin Torii, probably one of the oldest types of torii. It consists of 2 posts with a sacred rope called shiminawa tied between them. All other torii can be divided in 2 families, the Shinmei family and the mid-Heian family. Torii of the first have only straight parts, the second have both straight and curved parts. Shinmei family. The Shinmei Torii and its variants are characterized by straight upper lintels. Photo gallery. Shinmei Torii. The Shinmei Torii, which gives the name to the family, is constituted solely by a lintel and 2 pillars united by a tie beam. In its simplest form, all 4 elements are rounded and the pillars have no inclination. When the nuki is rectangular in section, it is called Yasukuni Torii, from Tokyo's Yasukuni Jinja. It is believed to be the oldest torii style. Torii gates found only at the inner shrine and outer shrine at Ai Shrine in Mie Prefecture. For this reason, they are also called Jingu Torii, from Jingu, Ai's Grand Shrine's official Japanese name. There are 2 variants. The most common is extremely similar to a Shinmei Torii. Its pillars, however, have a slight inward inclination and its nuki is kept in place by wedges. The kasagi is pentagonal in section. The ends of the kasagi are slightly thicker, giving the impression of an upward slant. All these torii were built after the 14th century. The second type is similar to the first, but has also a secondary, rectangular lintel under the pentagonal kasagi. This and the Shinmei Torii style started becoming more popular during the early 20th century at the time of state Shinto because they were considered the oldest and most prestigious. Kashuga Torii. The Kashuga Torii is a mid-Heian torii with straight top lintels. The style takes its name from Kashuga Taishi's Ichi no Torii, or main torii. The pillars have an inclination and are slightly tapered. The nuki protrudes and is held in place by kusabi driven in on both sides. This torii was the first to be painted vermilion and to adopt a shamaki at Kashuga Taisha, the shrine from which it takes its name. Hoshiman Torii, almost identical to a Kashuga Torii, but with the two upper lintels at a slant. The Hoshiman Torii first appeared during the Heian period. The name comes from the fact that this type of torii is often used at Hoshiman shrines. Kashima Torii. The Kashima Torii is a shinmei torii without korobi, with kusabi and a protruding nuki. It takes its name from Kashima Shrine in Ibaraki Prefecture. Kurikai Torii. The Kurikai Torii is a shinmei torii built with unbarked wood. Because this type of torii requires replacement at 3 years intervals, it is becoming rare. The most notorious example is Nonomiya Shrine in Kyoto. The shrine now, however, uses a torii made of synthetic material which simulates the look of wood. Shiromaruta Torii. The Shiromaruta Torii Shiroki Torii is a shinmei torii made with logs from which bark has been removed. This type of torii is present at the tombs of all emperors of Japan. Mifashira Torii. The Mifashira Torii Mitsubashira Torii is a type of torii which appears to be formed from 3 individual torii. It is thought by some to have been built by early Japanese Christians to represent the Holy Trinity. Torii of the Mao-yin family. The Mao-yin torii and its variants are characterized by curved lintels. Photo gallery. Mao-yin torii. The Mao-yin torii, by far the most common torii style, are characterized by curved upper lintels. Both curve slightly upwards. Kusabi are present. A Mao-yin torii can be made of wood, stone, concrete or other materials and be vermilion or unpainted. Nakayama Torii. The Nakayama Torii style, which takes its name from Nakayama Jinja in Okayama Prefecture, is basically a Mao-yin torii, but the nuki does not protrude from the pillars and the curve made by the 2 top lintels is more accentuated than usual. The torii at Nakayama Shrine that gives the style its name is 9 meters tall and was erected in 1791. Daiwa Inari Torii. The Daiwa or Inari Torii is a Mao-yin torii with 2 rings called Daiwa at the top of the 2 pillars. The name Inari Torii comes from the fact that vermilion Daiwa torii tend to be common at Inari shrines. But even at the famous Fushimi Inari Shrine, not all torii are in this style. This style first appeared during the late Heian period. Sano Torii. The Sano Torii is Mao-yin torii with a gable over the 2 top lintels. The best example of this style is found at Hiyoshi Shrine near Lake Biwa. Miwa Torii. Also called Sanko Torii, Mitsu Torii, Kamochi Torii. The Miwa Torii is composed of 3 Mao-yin torii without inclination of the pillars. It can be found with or without doors. The most famous one is at Miwa Shrine in Nara, from which it takes its name. An entrance to a temple, Ryobu Torii, also called Yotsuashi Torii, Gongan Torii, Chigobashira Torii. The Ryobu Torii is a Daiwa torii whose pillars are reinforced on both sides by square posts. The name derives from its long association with Ryobu Shinto, a current of thought within Shingon Buddhism. The famous torii rising from the water at Tsukishima is a Ryobu torii, and the shrine used to be also a Shingon Buddhist temple, so much so that it still has a pagoda. Heian Torii. The Heian Torii is an unusual type of torii with a rounded kasagi and pillars that flare downwards. The example in the gallery below is the main torii at Chiriku, Hashimong-u in Saga Prefecture, and a city-designated important cultural property. Gallery.